Okay, fifth graders, your homework tonight is a little bit more challenging than I planned, and I'm sorry. I didn't catch that it was with some regrouping, but we've done some with practice, so we'll be okay. All right, so our first one, 8 1/4, we need to find that common denominator because this one's 1/2, so let's change it to 2/4 instead, which is the same as half. Here's where we get into the regrouping. You can't do 1 minus 2, so we need to borrow over here and make that 8 into a 7. Now we need to think of it as 1 because we're borrowing 1. But we want a 1 that's got the same denominator as what we already have. So 4/4 is also 1. So we're going to add that together and we get 5/4. And then we can subtract our 2/4. 5 minus 2 will be 3. And our same denominator, 3/4. And then we can subtract our whole number. So first one, we get 2 3/4. The second one, we're going to change this to a common denominator. 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 2 is 2. Again, we can't do 2 minus 5, so we need to borrow from our whole. And we need to express our 1 over here as 6/6. 6/6 is the same as 1. We're going to add them together, and we get 8/6. And now I can subtract 8 minus 5 will be 3, and our denominator stays 6. And 8 minus 4 is 4, so we get 4 3/6. And if you're going to do the puzzle at the bottom, that's the same as 4 1/2. You'll find it down there that way. Number 3. Number 3, we're going to go with 10 as our common denominator. 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 1 is 5, so it's the same as half. Again, we can't do 3 minus 5, so we're going to have to borrow from our whole number. Make that 5, and we're going to add this 1 over here, but we're going to add the 1 as 10/10. So we get 13/10. 13 minus 5 is 8, so we'll get 8/10, which we can reduce in a minute. 5 minus 2 is 3, so we get 3 8/10. And if we wanted to reduce it a little bit more, we would call this 3 4/5, if you want to look for it down below in the puzzle. Next one, we want a common denominator of probably 20 for this one, so we're going to go 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 times 1 is 4, so we'll get 4/20. 4 times 5 again is 20, and 3 times 5 is 15. So 4 minus 15, we're going to have to borrow from our whole, and we're going to add it over here as 20/20. 20/20 is the same as 1, so we get 24/20. Now we can subtract 24 minus 15, and we'll get 9/20. And then we'll subtract our whole number. 6 minus 3 is 3. So 3 9/20 for number 4. Number 5, common denominator. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. 4 minus 6, we can't do it until we borrow 1. Make that 1 less. We're going to add it over here as 9/9. It's still a 1. 9/9 is 1. And we get 13/9. And then we can subtract 13 minus 6 and get 7. Denominator stays the same. 11 minus 1 is 10, so we get 10 7/9 on that one. Here we're looking for a common denominator of 12, so we could multiply by 3/3. Or we could just say it's equal to, we're going to do this mentally here. 4 times 3 is 12, 1 times 3 is 3. So we've got 3 minus 7, but we can't do that. So we'll borrow and make this 29. And we'll add plus 12/12 here. My paper's curling up. And we'll get 15/12. And then we can subtract 15 minus 7 will give us 8. Keep our denominator of 12, and then 29 minus 8 will give us 21, and if we wanted to find it on the puzzle below, that would make it 2/3, 21 2/3. Number 7, a common denominator here would be 15. 5 times 3 is 15, 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times 5 is 5. We're going to need to borrow. Make this a 17, and then we'll add over here plus 15/15, and we'll get 18/15. and then subtract and get 6/15. And our whole number, 17 minus 3, 14 and 16/15, and we can reduce this again, divide them both by 3/3, and we get 2/5. So 14 and 2/5 on that one. This one, common denominator is probably going to be 18. And we'll get 9/18 here, and we'll get 4/18 up here. 4 minus 9, we can't do it, so we're going to need to borrow. Make that an 8. Add over 18/18 over here, and we'll get 22/18 minus 9. Okay, so we were subtracting 22 minus 9, and we get 13/18, and then we can finish with our whole number, and 8 minus 8 is 0, so our final answer then is just that 13/18. I'm looking back at this one and I made a mistake. 15 plus 5 is actually 20, and I wrote 18. 18 minus 12 then will give us 8. So we'll change this then. So 14, I'm going to just write all the whole thing over here. 14 and 8/15 should do it for us. And I suppose I'm off the screen. I'm just going to scroll it over. 14 and 8/15, and I think you'll be able to find that right here. 14 and 8/15. Sorry about that. Number 9 then. So we've got 5 and 1/4 and 7/10. We're going to look for a common denominator of 40, and we'll get 10/40ths. I should put equals here instead, and 40ths. We're multiplying by 4 here, 28, and 10 minus 28, I can't do it, so I'm going to make this a 4, and I will add 40 plus 40, or you're maybe doing this mentally and saying that's 50/40ths, and now I can subtract. 50 minus 28 will give me 50, yeah, minus the 28 will give me 22/40ths, and then I keep my whole number of 4, and this can actually be reduced to 11/20ths if you're looking on the puzzle. The common denominator here would probably be 24. 8 times 3 is 24, 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 2 is 16. 16 minus 21, you can't do it, so we'll make this a 26, and then we'll add 24 on this side. We get our common denominator of 24, but 24 plus 16 is going to equal 40, and 40 minus 21 is going to equal 19. Keep our common denominator of 24, and now we can subtract our whole number. We've got 26 minus 6, so we get 20, and 19/24 on that one. We've already got a 15, so we just need to make this into a 15. 5 times 3 is 15, 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 11 minus 6 is 5. Where am I here? 11 minus 6 is 5/15. And then we've got 44 minus 38, and we get 6. And we can reduce this one to 3/5. Am I on here? Yep. Alright, this one, a common denominator of 30. Let's multiply this by 3/3. And we get 9/30ths. And this by 5. We get 5/30ths. And we can't subtract without some regrouping, so we'll make this 14. And then over here we're going to add 30/30, that's our 1. And we get 35/30ths. 35 minus 9 is 26. Common denominator of 30. And then our whole number, we had 15. So we've got 14 and 26/30ths, which can be reduced if you divide them both by 2 to 13/15. Alright, now we've got some that are in the form of a word problem. So we're talking about salmon here. And 97 1/4 of a pound. And then somebody else caught one, 74 9/16. And it's asking how much less. I need a little room over here for some work, so I'm going to move it over here. In fact, I'm just going to go fold it in half for now. I'm running out of room. So I'm going to go way up here, 97 1/4. And we're going to subtract 74 9/16. It looks like a common denominator would be 16. So let's change this one. 4 times 4 is 16. We'll make that 4/16. We're going to have to do a little regrouping. And let's add 16 over 16 here. And we'll get 20/16. And then we can subtract our 9. And we'll get 11/16. And 96 minus the 74 will get 22. So 22 and 11/16 for that one. And then 14. We've got a lot on this one. I might have to go back to the other side. So we've got 11 1/2. Let's do the first step first. So we've got 11 1/2, and we're going to subtract 5 1/4. And we can change this quickly to 2/4. And that one's fairly easy to subtract. We don't have to do any regrouping. We get 1/4. And 11 minus 5 is 6, so we've got 6 1/4. And now we've got our next one, which is 3 3/8. So we'll subtract our 3 3/8. This one we can regroup and make it 2/8. And then we need to, I should say equivalent there. We're looking for an equivalent fraction. Here's our regrouping. And we'll add 8 over 8. And make this 10/8. And then 10 minus 3 is going to be 7. And we'll keep our denominator of 8. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So on that last one, 2 7/8 should be your final answer. Alright, thanks for working with me today.